Thank you for attending this webinar. As always, my name is Chad Williams. Um, and please feel free to email me any questions you may have about medical laboratory science, about whether or not you may need courses to meet graduation requirements. I'm very, very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Um, and usually if I'm in my office, I'll answer you pretty much immediately. Um, on the weekends, sometimes, it might take a little bit. But I'm talking about the University of Kentucky online MLT to MLS online track right now specifically. Um, but when I'm talking about this track, I'm also talking about, general MLT to MLS pathway requirements and kind of what that looks for all of you as well. So I'm going to go through some of that. But first of all, when you graduate from the program, you'll earn a bachelor's of health science and medical laboratory science. We are 100% online. You never have to come to the University of Kentucky if you don't want to. We are a NACLS accredited program. Um, Really, one of the only few requirements that we have is that you have matriculated through an MLT program. Even if that's international, it doesn't matter. As long as you're working here in the United States, we recognize you as an MLT, and then we can train you in the online MLT to MLS program. Um, if a little bit about that though is like if you're ASCP certified, which I highly recommend you do take the ASCP certification upon graduation from your MLT program, you can go right in the program. If you're not ASCP certified, we just require that you have worked in the field for several years, but we still recognize you as an MLT, and you still have no problem getting into the program. There is a minimum GPA requirement of 2.5, but even that is not fast. Depending on your situation or scenario, we'll always work with you. We have basically almost as many seats as we have applicants, so you're guaranteed admission if you have an MLT degree, and you apply and you meet that minimum GPA requirement of 2.5. You'll be eligible to sit for the ACP BOC. That's the Board of Certification exam at the MLS level once you graduate. The other nice thing about our program is some programs require you to go to testing facilities and pay money out of pocket. But what we've done, all the testing will be done within a 48-hour time window. So you can take it anytime within that 48-hour time window at your home using what's called a Respondus monitor and lockdown browser. Now, it's very convenient because you can take all your tests at home. You don't have to go to a test facility. The other thing too, if you do apply to the program and you're in our program, if you have issues or problems during that 48-hour window and you can't take the exam, just email the instructor and ask them, hey, something came up. I had a family emergency. I was sick. And ask them for an extension. That we'll be more than happy to grant an extension. We want you to be as successful as possible in this program. And so we don't want you to take an exam if you've been in the ER or been sick or been dealing with, a family emergency. So just reach out to the faculty and ask for, an extension of that 48-hour time window if you need. The MLS curriculum, pretty much, it's divided into two parts, but the pre-professional phase is the part that professional phase, or that's the courses that you've already taken, similar courses to what you've taken at the MLT level. That would be hematology, microbiology, chemistry. But the pre-professional phase is one thing I think, excuse me, that students are not aware of. Unfortunately, the Associate of Applied Science, which many of you received at the community college level, doesn't meet what's called general education requirements for a bachelor's degree in the United States. And so what that means is most of you, though, and general education requirements are not, this is what I do want to, since you're here, I will tell you, some universities, online universities won't tell you about general education requirements, but they're mandated by the federal government. This is, your liberal arts portion of an undergraduate degree, that's music appreciation, art appreciation, history, all those things that you see in a liberal arts education, those are mandated by the federal government. The other thing, general education requirements are different at every university. So the best bet to meet general education requirements for you is to go back to the community college. This is going to be the cheapest, quickest, easiest way for you to meet general education requirements for a bachelor's degree. Go back to the community college where you got your MLT degree and get either an Associate of Science or an Associate of Arts degree. Then that will transfer at the university level. And because you met general education requirements at that particular university, other universities will honor that you met the general education requirements there, and they will say, well, then you've met general education requirements for a bachelor's degree. But if you do not do that, if you just apply to some of these online schools, and most of you will not have met general education requirements, some of these schools won't tell you about them until you're in the program and you've actually started in the program, and they'll make you take general education requirements through their university, paying their exorbitant tuition costs through them. So it is in your best interest that you go back to the community college system. You talk to an advisor at the community college, wherever you went, or a community college near you. It doesn't have to be if you move or you're living somewhere else. Just go to a community college, talk to an advisor, tell them that, hey, and transfer all your courses, bring all unofficial transcripts are fine. They can look at them. They can figure out how many courses you need to get that Associate of Science or Associate of Arts degree, and then that will have met general education requirements. The other reason I really like the community college, they have very good online courses, and they have a lot of flexible online courses as well. So that's a big piece of the puzzle that unfortunately that Associate of Applied Science MLT degree does not meet general education, doesn't satisfy general education requirements for a bachelor's degree in the United States. So some people, but here's the thing though, if don't worry about that. If you want to start in the program before you even have that AS or AA or any of the other pre-professional courses, you can come right on in, because you will run into a problem potentially if you already have an associate's degree. And if you go back and you try to get another associate's degree, the federal government will not give you financial aid to get that associate's degree. But there's a trick, a workaround. If you email me and you say, hey, can you tell them that I need these courses? I can write and say, so and so needs these courses to meet the requirements for general education for a bachelor's degree at the University of Kentucky. Then the federal government will pay for it. But here's the other thing while I'm talking about that is, look, you all are highly skilled, highly trained, sought after professionals. You can go to a different hospital that has tuition assistance and you can get them to pay for your degree. In fact, and don't, you can talk to somebody in HR at your own hospital and see if they have a tuition assistance program. If they don't, and you're really serious about this and you don't want to pay out of pocket, you can switch to another hospital as part of their benefit package that has tuition assistance. Now, with that tuition assistance, there usually is a kind of a work requirement, like, for every X number of dollars or courses you take, you have to spend so long working at this facility. So just be aware of that. But I mean, tuition assistance is a great option for you all. And I highly encourage you to talk to HR, talk to your lab manager, and see if they'll provide some assistance in going back and completing your MLS degree, because there's huge demand for MLTs and MLS as well. So the professional program, that's the general education requirements. There are pre-professional courses that we do require online, and it says anatomy, physiology, biology, statistics, general chemistry 1 with a lab. A and P, you've already taken. We can take care of that with your transfer. Biology, we can take care of. Any class that has statistics in the name, we can use that. The only one that we do require of most students is that you have to have had at least a full-blown General Chemistry 1 course. If it says Gen Chem 1 with a lab, then you're good. Just not like an intro to Gen Chem or something like that. And so most people, all they need for the pre-professional courses are is general chemistry. Some of you, though, some other universities or associate programs do require Gen Chem for their, associates of applied science, and so you've already met that. All right. Tuition assistance, check that out with your HR department. We have lots of scholarships. Once you're admitted into the program, we usually can give you, scholarships, a few $1,000s once you're in the program. There's other scholarships too. I have a PowerPoint I could share with you at the beginning once you're in the program, from, Siemens and Abbott and other big corporations. ASCP has some scholarship for students as well. We also have some transfer scholarships available for in-state and out-of-state residents. I encourage you all to check that out as well. But if I were in your shoes, I would still go. I would use or find a hospital that has tuition assistance, and I would just utilize that benefit package to pay for my bachelor's degree. Why do you need a bachelor's degree? I will tell you why you need a bachelor's degree. The biggest reason is, and don't fall, and I've seen this for multiple students, and I've, you know, talked to people. You can get what's called a bachelor's of science, health science degree online. Um, but it's not good in your condition. It's not good for you professionally. Okay. There are 3 degrees that CLIA, Clinical Laboratory Information Act. CLIA is a regulation. And in that regulation, and they didn't used to enforce this, but now they've started enforcing it, I think, in the past like 5, 6 years. They say that you cannot review quality control or approve quality control unless you have a bachelor's in medical lab science, a bachelor's in chemistry, or a bachelor's in biology. Those are the only 3 acceptable degrees where you can actually review QC and quality control and approve quality control. But what does that mean really? What that means really is like you cannot be a lead tech, you cannot be a manager, you can't hold any kind of managerial role in the laboratory that would require you to approve quality control unless you have that bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science. But there's other reasons as well, and there's no reason why you can't just work as an MLT. But that's you can't move up in management, and there'll be lots of opportunities outside the hospital laboratory that will um, arise that you won't be eligible for unless you have that bachelor's degree in your back pocket. There's tons of opportunities with the medical laboratory science bachelor's degree. You can go on into management, like I said, but you can also you can be an educator. Like being an educator is nice. Um, I don't miss working nights, weekends, holidays, all that stuff. And I have a lot of flexibility. I have a family, and so sometimes if I have to go pick up my children, if they're sick or something like that, I can do that in education. And there's a huge need for educators as well. Sales, you can go on in sales. I mean, you talk about there are millions, probably here just at the University of Kentucky, a hospital as big as what we have. There are billions and billions of dollars in laboratory equipment, reagents, calibrators, and somebody has to sell those things to hospital laboratory managers. And guess who they need to do that? They need people with a background in laboratory science so that you can kind of talk the talk and talk the language of the laboratory manager to get them. So there's a huge opportunity. You can make hundreds of thousands of dollars as a sales person for any of these big corporations like Siemens, Abbott, Beckman Coulter, places like that. A field service engineer, those people that come in and fix the analyzers and work on them. That's a fun. I actually was going to do that before I took a job in education. But yeah, you can work on the analyzers, and that pays really good money too. You do have to travel because you're in charge of a certain area. And when you're on call, you might have to go like you can't wait if the analyzer goes down, you kind of have to go out and repair it immediately. So that's the only caveat to that. And then consulting roles as well. But end all be all, you really do need a bachelor's degree anymore in the United States for any sort of opportunity that will arise in the future. Um, and it's very unfortunate. I know that capable and competent people with associate's degrees, and I've run into it too at the collegiate level. UK, they require that I have a PhD to do this and this, and I don't have a PhD. And so therefore they won't, people won't allow me to do certain things because I don't have little letters after my name. Um, but you will find that in, moving, once if you want to get out of the lab and do something else. This is just a quote here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the 70,000 or 71,000, it fluctuates all over the United States because it depends on where you live. But there is a big difference between MLTs. Not everywhere, like here at ARH in Kentucky, they have a union, and so MLTs make just a little bit less than MLS, but relatively almost identical. But a lot of places you can make more money as a medical laboratory scientist. But I think the biggest reason why you would want to do a medical laboratory science is because 10 years from now, 12 years from now, an opportunity is going to arise where they're going to be like, hey, we would really like you to do this X, Y, or Z. We really think you'd be good at it. And then you aren't able to do that or take or walk through that door only because you don't have a piece of paper in your hand. And there's a huge demand for laboratory scientists, and it's only going to keep growing. So that's another reason why I think you should probably consider getting a bachelor's degree. And remember, the easiest route is not always the best route, because that bachelor's of science, health science degree, guess what? Doesn't do you any good at all. And it has to do with that, it has to do with the Medical Laboratory Science and CLIA Act, but it also has to do with like all these opportunities I'm telling you about they want a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science, not just general health sciences as well. Here's all the courses. And the other nice thing about our program is we give you all the material. I don't recommend you buy any books for the program. There's one book, and I'll tell you on the next slide what that book is I recommend. But it's microheme, and you guys have all used the same books that you used at the MLT level. If you still have those, just keep those. Mahon for micro and McKenzie for hematology. You just keep those. And the other thing is you also have those books in your laboratory. So if you do have if you want to read up on a certain section or topic that you don't understand in lecture, you can just go to the lab and take the textbook down and read it there as well. So there's no need to buy more textbooks, but this is the professional phase. The other thing that's pretty interesting, or I think nice about this program, is that we give work experience, and we don't just give you experience for working in the laboratory. We give you tuition-free credit hours, so you can receive up to 8 tuition-free credit hours for your clinical practicum course credit, and then you don't have to do any clinical rotations. And if you've been checked off at your hospital in that particular area of the laboratory, that's fine. That's good enough. I don't want you to have to go through another clinical rotation. And usually that's comprehensive work experience, meaning, the two, like all of us usually start out as generalists in hematology and chemistry. So all of us could test out of those rotations. We wouldn't have to take those, and we get 4 tuition-free credit hours towards graduation. But then, microbiology, you have to have red plates. And blood bank, you have to have done antibody identification. But the other thing I want to tell you about, even if you do need a clinical rotation, these clinical rotations are not like what you did at the MLT level. These are not 8 hours a day, for 4 weeks. These are 1 to 2 weeks. And I say 1 to 2 weeks because a lot of you do a lot of micro, like you do tons of setups, you do gram states, you pull blood cultures, but you just don't read plates. And so that's what you're missing. So you can, with the competency checkoff sheet, you can have somebody sign off everything that you do currently in your job, because there's no reason for you to do a clinical rotation in something that you're already competent in. And then all you have to do is complete the rest of the competency checkoff sheet, the areas that you don't have a mastery of, or you don't have a lot of experience in, like plate reading in the case of microbiology. And so that's a really helpful thing. The other that's flexible, we do like for you to come like with your own clinical laboratory. Usually most people do, if they have to do clinical rotations, they'll do them in the laboratory where they currently work. So you can work out with your laboratory manager, when you want to do your rotations. Those rotations can be, you can spread it out over a year. You have an entire year to do whatever that 1 to 2 weeks is. So if you wanted to do, 4 hours on a Saturday for, 4 Saturdays or something, whatever, that would be fine. As long as it works out with your lab manager, works it, and basically what I'm saying, if it works for your schedule and the lab schedule. The other thing to be aware of, though, if you have lab managers that you want to be careful about talking about, clinical rotations, because this is like a mini rotation. This isn't your full-blown clinical rotation like the 4 week one that we usually have at the MLT and MLS level. But if they have students and they're like, we can't get you in micro this semester, that's okay. You can still register for the course. We'll give you an incomplete, and you can do it in the spring or over the summer, and then we'll change the grade once you get that paperwork done. So there's lots and lots of flexibility on that. If we don't leave you, if you cannot find a clinical rotation in an area, we will help find you one here in Kentucky. You can use one of our clinical sites. We'll make sure that you meet all the requirements for graduation. That is one thing I think that we do really well. Some universities around the United States, I've heard horror stories about how they're very um, student not very student friendly. They take pride on the fact that they flunk students out, that students aren't graduating, um, you know. But here at the University of Kentucky in our program is like, we know that you're working professionals. We're doing our best to try to get you through this program, and we want to see you succeed. We will do everything in our power to make sure that you graduate with a degree, a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science. Now, for those tuition-free credit hours to test out of that work experience, the way it works here at the University of Kentucky is, in order for me to give you tuition-free credit, I have to have you pass a little short exam. And so there's a short examination that you'll have to take and pass that examination. But that's why I also have this book over here. It's Clinical Lab Science Review, a bottom line approach. And it's a great book. It's a great book. That you can read. And why is it great? Because it prioritizes the information for you. It takes, for instance, Staphylococcus. I think, I might have a lecture on Staphylococcus that's like 40 or 50 PowerPoint slides. It has half a page in this book dedicated to everything that's important about Staphylococcus. And guess what? That is the most important information you need to know about Staphylococcus. So it's a great review, not only for this short examination that you'll have to take, but also for the program in general. And the only book I recommend students get for the program is this book, because if it's in this book is written by clinical laboratory educators to help you pass the board of certification exam. And guess what? I'm teaching to that exam. I'm graded based on how well you do on that exam. And if it's in that book and it's in my notes, you can guarantee that it's going to be on an examination. And so it's a really nice tool once you're in the program to help you know what you should be up prioritizing whenever you study a certain topic or subject. That's why I really, really recommend it for online learners, that you get that clinical lab science review bottom line approach. So why the University of Kentucky? Basically, we do have a small cohort size. We have lots of flexible clinical rotations, so we will work with you. There is no set time schedule on that. It's based on, and I will be more than happy to talk to anybody, whether you're lab manager, lead tech, or a clinical educator there on site, to help you get and secure those clinical rotations and kind of communicate some of the things that I've communicated to you today about how, hey, this is not an actual, full-blown 4 week clinical rotation. This is more of just a review. As soon as you complete that competency checkoff sheet, you're done. You don't have to stay there for 2 weeks completely. You complete that competency checkoff sheet, the clinical rotation is over. If that takes you 1 week, then you're done. We do have free exams, so that's a really nice thing. We don't require you to go to an examination site and pay money to take all your exams. You can complete your degree in 1 year if that's something you want to do, and some people really, really want to do that. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. Like if you just graduated from an MLT program and the information's fresh and you just want to plow through, that might be beneficial. I recommend though, unless you're in a hurry, I don't see a sense of like, doing the full-time program. The other benefit of the part-time option is that if you have tuition assistance, a lot of times that tuition assistance program that hospitals offer will max out at like eight or $10,000 a year. And so if you spread that out over 2 years, guess what? They pay $20,000 towards your tuition rather than just the 10,000 that you would if you did it in a year. So it can really work out in your favor if you do that part time. Plus, you don't want to kill yourself. Like you all are full-time working professionals, so you don't want to be necessarily going to school full time, but you can if you want. That's yours. So you apply. So apply now if you're interested for the fall. And remember, you don't have to have everything done before you apply. Don't think that you need to have everything completed and all your coursework done. We'll work with you in that part-time option. And a lot of times I have students that we'll go back and I'll say, go talk to the advisor at the community college where you went. We'll see what courses you're missing. Usually you might be missing only about two courses or something like that. And we'll just work those into the program through that community college when you're taking our core curriculum as well. Um, and so the other thing that I know a lot of folks, there are universities out there, and not a small number that won't tell you about the general education requirements. I'm telling you about your general education requirements because I believe in honesty and that I'm telling you this because it's what is right. And what's right is that you'll have a significant cost savings if you do your general education requirements through a community college where you did your initial MLT schoolwork because you were already pursuing their general education requirements for a bachelor's degree. And I know that, that associate's degree, when you get that associate of science or that associate of arts, wrapped up in that is the general education requirements for a bachelor's degree. And so if you go to a university and you try to transfer in your courses, they're going to be like, no, we're not going to accept this. They play this game where, no, we're not, we don't like that course. We don't like this course. They're going to make you take a whole bunch more courses than you would have if you just gone back to the community college where you got your MLT degree from. So it's really in your best interest to do that. But again, I can work with you um, to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what those graduation requirements are. And that is federal law. Like general education, nobody can get around federal law in the United, because I hear students saying, well, this university didn't require me to take general education requirements. I was like, no, they're just not telling you that. And they're misleading you and misinforming you because you will take general education requirements whether you like it or not because it's federal law. Nobody can skirt federal law in the United States. So we do have professional advisors here, and I work with you on a regular basis to try to make sure that you know you're doing well on your courses. We'll have some Zoom meetings online so everybody can kind of meet one another. That way, we can also make connections. So if you want to study with somebody who's in the online MLT program as well, we can do that. And so we'll try to make connections that way so you feel like you're part of a cohort that is going through this together. We do, I will guarantee that we will do everything to make sure that you get your clinical rotations as needed. Ultimately, we've had multiple people, like we've just said, well, we're going to do it here in the state of Kentucky. They take a week off work or something, and then we, knock it out there if we have to. But again, we would like for you to try to do it on your own, but we absolutely will help you. We have online support for everybody. You have access to the library as well. They also have tons of free downloads at the University of Kentucky, so you can get. I would go ahead and get, Microsoft, Adobe, Outlook, anything you want from the university while you're enrolled, because you get it forever, and you can update it. It doesn't like it. It doesn't. The Microsoft program doesn't disappear off your computer once you graduate. So I do recommend you download all that on all your computers in your household once you're in the program. And then the other thing too, which I found out about, which is I mean, it's kind of not a big selling point, but it's nice is that your University of Kentucky email, you get to keep that for life. So if you want to use that as your new email address, since I've got one email address that I just send spam to, when I don't want people contacting me, because everybody wants your email address now, and so I have like a burner email address. I just say, here you go. I'll never check this again in my life. You could use it for that once you graduate, or you can switch over and use it as your primary email address because it's never going to go away. Uh, I guess as long as the University of Kentucky is still standing. So, um, again, you have to associate's degree from MLT, overall GPA at 2.5, be currently employed in a clinical laboratory. The first step is if you want to apply, you just hit this, and I've got this, and she'll send this out to you. Our marketing director will, how to apply to UK. Apply to the University of Kentucky first thing. They'll give you a student number that way. Then you apply again to the MLT to MLS online application. And that'll be the final thing. And then we'll just need a statement of support form. If you can test out of all areas of the laboratory, all the four major areas, which is, micro, blood bank, chemistry, and hematology. If you can test out of those four areas, then you don't need a statement of support form. And we do, every year I get one or two, three, actually, yeah, 3 or 4 students who can test out of all those. I don't care when if you did blood bank 5 years ago, it doesn't matter. If you're competent and capable in it, I don't care how recent or long ago it was. If you worked in that area and you were proficient, that is good enough, and we will get you that tuition-free credit towards graduation, and you won't have to take that clinical rotation. All right, so any questions? Feel free to email me your unofficial transcripts. Like if you want to shoot me your unofficial transcripts, you can even take it with your phone, whatever. Don't do official because it costs money for you. Unofficial is fine.
I do have a question. I'm in the state of California.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been working. I'm ASAP certified MLT for a year.
Uh-huh.
Working as an MLT for a year also. Can you convert the MLS to the CLS in the state of California?
You can. Yeah. Uh-huh. They actually just changed the rules not that long ago. It used to be it wasn't impossible before, but it used to be difficult in California. Uh in in well, hold on. Let me see. I gotta no, New York's the one that changed. So the answer to the question, Armando, is absolutely yes. California is a little different. You will be required to do some extra clinical hours. But look, I mean, you are in such high demand that your boss is going to want once you get the here's the thing, once you get the bachelor's degree um, in medical laboratory science, you're eligible for that ASCP certification exam at the MLS level, national level. Once you have that in your hand, you are in such high demand, a lab manager will hire you and they will help you achieve the certification in the state of California. Because the thing that you're missing in California is they have a very um, specific number of clinical rotation hours that are needed. If you wanted to try, and I have done this before, if you wanted to try to meet those hours while you were in the program, we could do that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have flexible hours in the program for that clinical rotation, and the only reason I have that is for California.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can make
Yes.
it work. Yeah, but absolutely to answer your question. All right. Did that answer your question, Armando?
1 second. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. I can allow Sheila. Sheila, do you have any
Just,
questions, Sheila?
um, I guess I noticed you have to work 2 years as an MLT to qualify for the program.
No, no, uh-uh. Only if you're not ASCP certified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you're, are you ASCP certified?
Yeah, I got it. I've been ASP certified for a year.
Yeah, yeah, don't worry about it then. And I'm pretty flexible on that anyways. You know, um, I do highly recommend that you get, if you do, any of you that are on here, if you go through the bachelor's program of medical laboratory science, sit for your ASCP certification at the MLS level. I have had two students now that have had to go back through the entire program over again to be able to resit for the ASCP certification. Uh, because you may be working at a lab that doesn't require ASCP certification, but you will eventually. And particularly, you have to be ACP certified. If you want to be an educator, if you want to be a manager, you really need that certification. So just I put that out there as, um, one of the reasons that, that you really need to sit for that certification exam once you do graduate. And it's important. All right, you all have any other questions?
I do have another question.
Yeah.
The classes usually work in the morning. I know that the time difference between West Coast and East Coast.
Oh yeah,
Generally, what time are the classes online?
no, it's completely um what's called asynchronous. So we'll record everything. We'll record all the lectures. You watch them when you can, and then you answer questions as needed. So totally asynchronous. Doesn't matter um that you're in California and we're in, Kentucky. But that's a good question. Yeah, Sheila, I'll send my email there. It should be above there, but I'll make sure that I ask um, Megan to send it out to everybody again tomorrow so you all have it. And do feel free, I'll be happy to review your transcripts for you. Unofficial again is fine. Just kind of let you know where you are. All right, any other questions? All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining me, and I hope I answered some of your questions. I wish you all well, um, and don't be afraid to reach out.